Hello, this is Lisa Russick.
And Donna.
I'm Donna as our guest co-host today. And we have a wonderful guest that I'm really excited about. We just met the first time moments ago, and I just can't stand not talking to her anymore, so I'll let you listen to her. But her name is Elizabeth, and would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Freed, and I am a professional medium.
She's a professional medium, and do you think we're all psychic, Elizabeth?
I think we are. I think we all have the ability to be psychic. Some people are born naturally to be a psychic, and other people have to study and learn the techniques on how to tap into their psychic ability.
I totally
We all have it. We just may not be aware of it.
I totally agree. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of mediumship, we've talked about this sometimes, like you always kind of like everybody has signs in their life of a past loved one who's left, usually. I don't know hardly anyone who hasn't had some kind of sign, a dream about that person, their loved one who died, or any kind of symbol that comes through and you just know, this them, that kind of stuff. I think that happens to everybody as far as mediumship is concerned. It happens even with pets that pass on. And, even if you don't believe in life after death, you probably get a lot of signs. Just got to pay attention, maybe. So, Elizabeth, how'd you get there? Were you raised around other mediums, or did you?
I was yourself? Not. I consider myself a medium by choice. I am the straightest, most conventional person living. And I, if you were to have talked to me years ago, I would have said, "When you're dead, you're done. So let the good times roll." I absolutely had no inclination about anything or any of this stuff. However, when I was in my 20s, I had a rather jolting out-of-body experience.
What happened?
Well, it was a crazy situation. I was taking a yoga class, and my yoga teacher was talking about a little bit about this, and I was reading this book, Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation. This is now in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I was in my 20s. You can figure out.
You are young looking.
I'm 76. So what happened was I was planning on having my out-of-town boyfriend come in for a visit, and I was trying to get to sleep, and my phone kept ringing and waking me up. Now, these were the days where there were no answer machines.
You had to get up.
So I had to answer the phone because it kept ringing otherwise. And then I would hang up and I just about fall asleep, and the doggone phone would ring again and wake me up. So the last phone call I got was from my friend Vernon. And he said, "Oh, I have to see you. I have to see you." I said, "Look, Vernon, I can't see you. David's coming in from Minnesota." I was living in Ohio at the time. "And I have to get to bed, and you'll keep me up all night with your stuff. I don't want it. I can't do it." And I felt really bad because I always never like to let a friend down, but I had to do what I had to do. Well, so I'm sitting there and I'm so exhausted, but my mind is racing. So I thought, I don't know, maybe my yoga teacher talked about putting yourself in an alpha state. Well,
yeah.
So let me try some breathing and see if I could see what an alpha state is.
Yeah.
So I did that. And I felt like what you would get is like a rush from marijuana.
Right. Okay.
All right. So that's an alpha state, I guess.
Okay. It's not bad if you like that feeling.
So, all right. So now that's, it's kind of like I'm twiddling my thumbs. And I'm going, I still can't fall asleep. And then I said, well, I read this book, Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation. They talk about the universal mind.
Now, you're real skeptical, but you're still dabbling. You're real skeptical, but you're still dabbling.
Let me see if I can tune into this universal mind. So I'm concentrating. And all of a sudden, my head turns like a Citizens Band radio. I hear conversation. And it's like, then I'm hearing these two guys in New York doing a review of a play.
Yeah.
I'm going, I'm switching this radio off. This is like. So now I'm lying there and I said, I wonder if I could imagine energy leaving my body. And I'm focusing on like electrical energy coming out of here. Now, I don't know that this is one of the chakras, that this is the ajna center, I know nothing. I'm just pretending I'm lying in bed, bored out of my mind, trying to get to sleep. So I'm concentrating and concentrating. Next thing I know, I hear this high-pitched air hiss coming through my ears, like when Superman was flying through the air.
Okay, yeah. Breaks the sound barrier.
I know I am out of my body flying through this gray tunnel, and I go, holy smoke, what if I can't get back? And I pull myself back into my body, and I'm like, wow, heck was that? And I'm feeling so hot. I feel like I don't even want to touch my body because I'm afraid I'm going to burn my fingers.
Oh.
And I'm lying there, and yeah. And then I go, I wonder if I could do it again.
Yeah, that I would too. Did you? Right? Could you?
Let's do it. This time I do the same thing. My bed starts shaking. The room starts shaking, and I'm out again. And then I went, oh my God, you fool. You had no plan. You don't know where you're going. Oh, myself.
Go stalk that boy.
Oh my gosh. And then I said, I'm getting out of bed. It is 2:45 a.m. I am writing down everything that just happened to me because I will not believe it. I will think it's a dream. I'm writing it down in detail, exactly what happened. I still have this journal. Okay. So then my boyfriend comes in. I'm afraid to fall asleep now. I'm afraid I'm going to leave my body when I fall asleep. And he's there for a week. And I am telling him what's happened to me. And he's just like, oh, yeah, right. So he then leaves. And my friend Vernon called me. Now, I have to tell you, Vernon is a Black man. Okay. And I said, oh my gosh, Vernon, I have to tell you what happened to me. He goes, I have to tell you what happened to me that night I called you. I said, all right. He said, he lived in some hippie farmhouse kind of, but these were the days it was hippie, And I said, okay. He said, I had been drinking that night and I wanted to talk to you. And he said, but I didn't drink that much. He said, I walked into the farmhouse, and when I walked in, all of a sudden this wind went through the house. The pictures started spinning on the walls. He said, I'm a Black man, but I turned white that moment. I said, what time was this? He said it was around 2:45 a.m.
So is that you?
That was me, because I never let a friend down when they were in need. And I think I was worried, and I was going to him,
Yeah.
So that was like the first shock. But still in all, I started doing some reading about astral projection and this kind of thing. And then I moved to Minnesota to be with a then boyfriend. And I, of course, told every living, breathing soul that this had happened to me. And these women that were friends of my boyfriend's husband, not my boyfriend's friend, he was one of their husbands. She said, there's a guy coming to the University of Minnesota to talk about out-of-body experiences and astral projection. You might want to go to his lecture. So I said, yes, I do. So I went, and what this fellow taught was lucid dreaming and sleeping consciousness, that it was safe to astrally project. Once you were asleep, you needed to understand what lucid dreaming was, and this is how you could then astrally project, because we all do it anyway, we just don't remember. So I was very interested in that, and he was giving opportunities to have a consultation with him. So I decided I'm doing it. So I made an appointment with him. This guy's name was Dr. Baker. He was this sort of pompous guy, and he was from London. He was from Britain.
Definitely pompous.
I go to the hotel,
the accent alone doesn't.
The accent, right.
I knock on the door. Now, bear in mind, I'm like 23,
Yeah.
right? I knock on the door, and he answers the door in a robe and slippers. And I'm thinking, man, what the hell? Yeah. I still want to get answers. So I sit down. I tell him, I said, look, here's what happened to me. I need to know, was this a legitimate out-of-body experience? He looks at me and he admonishes me. And he says, yes, it was. And don't you ever do that again.
Oh my gosh.
What do you mean? And he said, you did this when you were wide awake. Only the most trained yogis are able to do this safely when they're awake. It is only safe when you're sleeping. He said, if you continue this and you go down this road and you practice this, then he said, one day you're going to be relaxing and your astral body will leave, leaving you to be a host body for any other astral entity that might be traveling.
So he scared the living crap out of you.
No.
Wow.
And guess what? The movie, The Exorcist, had just come out there.
Oh, interesting.
I was so terrified of doing this. Okay. I don't feel that way now. I know a whole lot more and know that.
Yeah.
But, it's just
that would be scary to me too, because especially at that age, you don't know what is going on. No, if that happened to me at that age you're talking about, that exact experience, I would have been tripping out. I would have asked for someone to help me explain it to me too, but that wouldn't be what I expected. Yeah.
So it was pretty scary. So I just kind of put that to bed and I just decided I'm not going to practice it. I'm just not going to do anything. Besides that, my purpose in life is to be of service. And I don't see how leaving my body was going to be of service for anybody. So I just said, forget it. So I went on with life. Now it's 15, 20 years later. And I'm in business for myself and I'm talking to a client and I don't have an out-of-body experience. I have a very different experience. I'm on the phone, facing my computer, talking to, of all places, GE aircraft engine. Again, very corporate, very straight, very everything. All right. And I'm going to do a consultation with them. And I'm saying, yes, let's look at what date looks good. When all of a sudden I notice that the room had taken on a golden glow. And I'm thinking, is the sun coming in through the windows weird or is something happening here? But I'm on the phone, so I have to pay attention to my client.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I feel is this overwhelming sense of unconditional love.
Oh my gosh.
Fill the room.
Is that the first time you'd ever felt it too?
First time, never in my life. Like the way you would look at a newborn child. I don't know.
There's nothing to explain that feeling to me.
Not explain it. So you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sitting there and then I think I hear something. And then I feel this gentle squeeze on my shoulder. Now, I think my husband had been out hunting and I thought he had come in and he had walked in the room and he was giving me but I was a little annoyed because I was on the phone, a business call. And so I went to wheel around to say, I'm on the phone. I'll be with you in a minute. And I wheel around and there is no one there. And I go, whoo! And the lady on the phone, right? And I said, yes.
That's funny, yeah.
I'm fine. And I hung up with her. The light dissipated, the love dissipated, and I sat there dumbfounded saying, wow, what was that? That was really, I wasn't frightened. I was
that's good.
It was a good feeling. And I had not until recently known that feeling for years. I mean, I was maybe 38.
Yeah.
36, a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing was I called up my friend who is a born again Christian. And I said, Candace, have you ever had a religious experience? And she said, yes. And I told her what happened to me. And she said, did you pray recently? And I said, no, I'm not, I don't do that. So I'm not religious. I don't do that. And then I said, wait a minute. Now I have to back up the story. I have a friend who is a bona fide psychic. She has been followed by Johns Hopkins University since she was a child.
Wow.
She was now having this training center, and she said, my students tell me there's an energy pull in a certain part of the room. You're the most practical, straight person I know. So I want you to tell me if you feel anything. So I said, sure, I'll come down. No problem. So I came down to her center, and she said, I'm going to have Deborah, one of her trainees, put a prayer or something of protection around you before we do this. So I said, fine.
That was the prayer.
So she said to me, but here's the deal. She said, I would like you, before I give this in whatever it was that she did, invocation, or I don't know. She said, I'd like you to pray to whatever higher spirit or God that you believe in before I do this. Not religious. I don't do this. So I said, all right. And very irreverently say, okay, God, show me what's real and show me what's bullshit.
Ooh, you asked for it.
Okay. So I sat there. And so she went and she did her thing. Then my friend came out. She put her hands over mine and she said, do you feel any kind of pull? And I go, no. She said, how about now? You feel any kind of pull? I said, nope. She said, okay, thank you. And that was the end of that. So that now that this is a week later and I experienced this thing, when my friend said to me, did you pray recently? And I said, no, I don't pray. I said, wait a minute. You know what? I think I did. And
I sort of did.
Yeah. So she said, well, I guess you know what's real now.
How'd you answer that? What'd you say?
No, she said you were shown what's real, because she wouldn't say BS because she's great. You know?
What did you say? Were you accepting it, or were you kind of?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah.
That was like nothing I had ever known before, and it wasn't frightening. How can you be frightened by feeling loved? I mean, it was amazing.
There's nothing frightening about it.
There is nothing frightening about
the first time I felt it was from a spirit guide and passing that feeling to me. And I was just like, there is no word. There's no expression. There's no song, nothing. You just have to feel it. And
I had not felt it again until I got it from my spirit guide about 4 months ago.
Yes.
And it is so beautiful. And it's not anything you can possibly explain to anybody else. It's just the most, the thing that
it's unconditional, pure.
It's unconditional. And that's it, because we're always judging and doing whatever, looking at imperfections and this kind of thing. And this, you're just feeling this love.
And here and here and here and all around. And
what I'm talking about. And you can't explain it to anybody that's never felt it. And I'm telling you, if you would have talked to me before I felt it,
me too. I would have said that sounds like a drug or a hallucination, or maybe you just like got some like seizure or something. I don't know. That just sounds weird, or maybe you got some energy from someone thinking about you or something. I wouldn't know how to understand that until I felt it for the first time, which probably was maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. And then after that, the only other times I really can feel it is if I ask my guides to let me feel gratitude and remind me of what I'm grateful for. And if I go through that with them, then I can ask them to help me just feel that. But it feels a lot better if I have gratitude first, and then it really comes in a lot stronger.
I'm
and
with you.
I'll soak in there for a while if I can do it, but it doesn't always work for me because I'm blocking it sometimes. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know why.
We do, because you're human.
Yeah, that's why I'm human.
Human. What is
the excuse for everything? We're humans.
That's the human thing that's that gets in. That's
why we have this podcast.
So those were the only experiences I've had.
Yeah.
So how did I get into mediumship? Becomes the question. I say I'm a medium by choice. There are people that are natural born mediums. They just are able to connect with spirit. I didn't even believe that there was any spirit. I had these 2 experiences, but I never talked to anybody across the veil. I didn't know what that meant. And then one day I saw that the Monroe Institute was offering a class called Mediumship Toolkit. And I have to say, I took a number of different Monroe Institute courses, but I just dabbled with them. I was running a business. I ran a business for 40 years. Yeah. And again, straight corporate thing. I do executive coaching. That's what I did all this time. So how am I going to go talk to my corporate clients and tell them I'm into this woo-woo stuff? Forget it. I'm not doing that. But now that I'm retired, I would take these other courses, but not really pursue them. But
I understand, like professionally. Yeah.
Right. So I took this course on Mediumship Toolkit and discovered that anybody can be a medium.
Totally
it's a matter of education, meditation, and practice.
Absolutely.
So that's what it's about. And so I had a teacher. My teacher was a natural born medium. And she was very good. And I started out, and I was about 20% accurate. I didn't think that was good.
Me too. I was not very accurate at all when I first
started. This wasn't accurate. And I said, well, this is
I knew something was going on, and I can get some things, like I knew there was a spirit, for example, if we're doing that. But I still wasn't positive about that even, but I felt pretty confident there was a spirit and I was seeing it and it was there and I'm getting information. But that was about it as far as feeling confident. I didn't know what they were saying. I'd hear things. I'd hear 1,000 things. You know what I'm talking about? Or you hear like a bunch of
well, but I thought I was making it up. See, I couldn't believe that it was really happening.
I did too for a while.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I'm probably making this up.
Yeah, it's an easier way to explain what's going on with the real conscious. And, it's not an easier way to explain it, really.
It's more confusing.
You're right.
Because then I decided here's how this all came about for me. I needed to get more practice and I was looking for people to practice. And I was asking friends and I said, listen, I'm studying this. I'd like to do this. Would you be willing to let me practice with you? And I'd get this kind of thing like, whoa, I don't know. I don't know that I want to go there. And I get all this, I go,
I know in the South. I came from Alabama. So yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I found a group that I could connect with. And they told me about an organization called Very Soul. Have you ever heard of that? I'll tell you more detail about it later.
Okay.
And I thought, you know what? Here it is. I want to practice on people and do it for free. And they're giving me all this pushback. So you know what? I'm going to approach it like I would my business. I'm going to go professional and that's it. And they're going to be charged. That's it. And so people don't appreciate what they don't pay for. So I said, this is what I'm going to do, but I don't really need the money. I do pro bono coaching for a military organization called the Honor Foundation, where I help special operations military, Navy SEALs, Marine Raiders, Delta Force, Green Berets, those people transition from the military to the civilian workforce.
Oh, wow, that's important.
It's wonderful, gratifying work. I've been doing that for about 8 years, and I do it for free because that's my heart work, okay? And I want to be of service in appreciation for their patriotism and what they've done to keep us safe in this world. So I said, you know what? Every dollar that I make in mediumship is going to be donated to that organization. I've given them my time and my talent. I haven't given them my treasure because now that I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income. So this would be extra money that I could give them. So I set it up to do professional mediumship, and everything goes to them. So I started doing that. And when I got ready to make this announcement, I called up another coach from the organization. I said, here's how I'm announcing it. What do you think? And she said, are you aware of Suzanne Giesman? I said, no. Who is Suzanne Giesman? Are you aware of Suzanne Giesman? She said, Suzanne Giesman is a retired naval commander who worked with and advised the Joint Chiefs of Staff. She retired, and she had an awakening about 15 years ago, and she now teaches this business as a business. So I said, no kidding. So I looked into her. The story about her is straight as me, just like me, taught leadership courses, never thought anything about anything. When, after she retired, her stepdaughter, who was in the military and pregnant and deployed as a Marine, I believe, was going to her duty station. And she was, I think, maybe 6 months pregnant. She was struck by lightning and killed.
Whoa.
Yes, oh my God.
Pretty tragic.
Oh my God.
And of course, Suzanne was devastated by this. And then shortly thereafter, she got a visitation from her stepdaughter. And it blew her away with such evidence that it was clearly her that caused her to look into this. As a result of this experience, she then went to the Arthur Findlay School in London to learn more, and she has become very involved. She's amazing. She looks like the girl next door, like a combination Katie Couric and Savannah Guthrie from TV. I mean, she's just this very straight-looking person. And what I loved about her classes, number one, she was a medium by choice. Okay.
Yes.
This is how it happened to her. She wasn't a natural born medium. And so when she teaches her classes, they're very structured.
Yeah.
This overview of the class. Here are the goals and objectives. Here are the takeaways. And I mean, set up like I would design a leadership class. I mean,
right.
Very structured. And so when she says, you're going to connect with your guides, not like my first teacher was a natural born medium and figured I would just know what to do in my pants. Suzanne tells you very specifically the steps you need to go through to make that connection, and it helped me tremendously.
That is so cool.
So I took an 8-week online course from her and a 10-week online course from her. My accuracy is about sometimes 70% to 100%. On my connection.
Really great, yeah.
And so I still continue to study with her, and I just enrolled in a year-long leadership program with mediumship program that is supervised. Not that I really need it, but I'm a lifelong learner, and I figure if I can get better and better to serve the clients and help people, then I'm investing in that. I invest in myself, so that I can help others, give them either healing or empowering messages to serve them. That's really what my purpose is. And I want to be excellence has always been part of my makeup. Yeah. So I love it. And I continue to evolve and develop and enjoy and do it. So that's kind of how I got into this.
It is just wonderful. I'm in the field too. And so is Donna. We're both work in the psychic reading field.
So how did you get into, both of you do readings? Do you read from across the veil? Okay.
Yeah.
So when I define psychic, to me, a psychic is somebody who deals with people who are alive.
I think of it as intuition, really.
Yeah. But you're dealing with the person who is alive. You're tapping into them. A medium is tapping into the departed spirit.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, like a psychic medium. I do think that everyone can be a psychic medium, like you said, but people have to learn it. And some people do have it naturally. I didn't when I was a kid, say, but when I was older, spirits did come. I don't know why, you know. Then I did invite more of it in because I was excited about it once I figured out what it was and tried to work with it. But it took a long time. It's probably from the first time I had a visitation, I would work with it sometimes, but mostly I was fighting against it, you know, because I just couldn't freaking believe it.
Right.
I could not believe it, because that's what I really liked about when you first started out. You were very skeptical and just like, well, that's kind of how I was. What else am I going to do? I keep this keeps coming up and coming up. I'm going to look into it. Why else would it keep happening? You know, the certain signs or symbols or people repeating it, or on the radio, suddenly they're talking about mediums and whatever, you know, might be going on for me at that time when I was developing senses and intuition. Like, I think intuition or energy work or energy is like the basis of all of it. And how we communicate, I don't know how it works, mediumship, but I kind of think it's like they're just out of sync of time with us, and we can get like, I don't know if you can get like word for word. Sometimes I can, but mostly I get like all like a bunch of information comes in and I'm like translating it to someone, is kind of how I would put it. But I can feel a spirit in the room and I can see them doing things, but it's not in my eyeball. It's in my mind's eye, although I have seen them with my eyes, but not much. How do you experience?
I don't see the spirit. I see them in my mind. It's almost telepathic.
Yes. Yes, okay. Exactly.
So I use a variety of clairs. I see, I hear, I feel, I just know. Sometimes I can smell.
Me too, yeah.
Sometimes, not often. It comes to me. And it comes to me sometimes in direct words. Other times, as you mentioned earlier today, before we got started, it comes in the form of a sign or a symbol. And I can give you an example of that.
Yeah.
I did a reading for a fellow, and I said, I see a man. He's very tall, and he is very clean cut. I see him in a military uniform. He parts his hair on the right. He passed when he was around 35 years old. I said, I don't see this as a family member, but it's someone you may have gone to school with. And he said he took all of that, but I didn't go to school with him. He went to a different school. I said, well, then you lived with him. He was a roommate. And he said, no, he was not a roommate. I said, somehow you were in the same apartment building or something.
There was a living situation where you're together.
Yes. They were both they were both in the Navy, and they were on the same boat.
Oh, my.
So
he knew that.
Yeah. So that's how it came. And then I said, he's combing his hair, but now he's taking the comb and he's putting it to his mouth. He said, would you understand this man played the harmonica? And he said, yes. So he didn't show me a harmonica.
That's kind of the symbolism, but you just understood.
And he put it to his mouth. And I'm just conveying. So that's an example.
Yes, symbolism. That's the symbolism we were translating too. Yeah, symbolism.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I had a situation where it comes in symbolism. I was at a psychic fair, and someone asked me, did I communicate with deceased pets? And I said, well, I never have. But animals are sentient beings. I suppose I could, but I am not comfortable charging you to do a pet reading when I've never done it.
I don't know. Yeah.
So I passed on it. And I got to thinking, and I said, this is obviously something that's important to people. So let me explore that. And I went out on Facebook and I said to my friends, listen, I have this request. I've never done it before. If anybody wants to connect with a departed pet, let me know. I need the practice, and no charge. I'm just going to practice on you. So I had 8 people come forward. I was able to connect with 7 of their pets.
That's great.
So one of that came forward. Now, this is really, well, there were 2 that I think are significant. One, she said, I would like you to connect with my my border collie, Bella. So I said, okay, Bella is black and white. She said, that's right. She said, I said, Bella is wearing a red ribbon and has a bell around her neck. She said, no, Bella never did that. I said, okay, let me go back and see some more and see what I can find. I said, Bella is showing me like a ball of yarn. How odd for a dog. She said, oh, you know what? I think you're connected to Bella the cat.
I love that. I love that.
Are you telling me you've got
a cat and a dog named Bella? They like that name, Bella.
They really like that name.
And she said to me, well, no, Bella died 50 years ago.
Oh.
I said, oh, but I said, you didn't have Bella when we both lived in Ohio. And she said, no. And then I was drawn to my glasses and I said, Bella was calico. And she said, yes. So I said, well, let's see what Bella has to say. And I said, Bella said something about New York. And she said, well, I had Bella when we were on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. That's close enough. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So I said, let's see what kind of message she has. And I normally never say anything negative. This was so funny. I said, uh-oh, Bella is not happy with you. She said, why not? What's wrong? Oh, by the way, she said Bella had a red ribbon and a bell around her neck all the time. Okay. That was the evidence. Okay. We knew we had connected with Bella. And she said, not happy. What do you mean? I said, Bella says to me, you have some nerve giving a dog my name.
The sassy Bella on the bell.
Sassy Bella. Spicy
Right?
Bella.
She said, oh, we laughed. Now, here was one. Now we talk about symbols. Another coach from the Honor Foundation asked me if I would connect with her donkey, Winston. I said, donkey, oh, gee. I don't even know much about donkeys. I just know about a mule. So I'm trying to connect, and I go, well, Winston was brown. She said, no, Winston was not brown. I said, okay, let me just see. And I go, oh no. I said, I'm not sure I can do this because I think I'm going into my logical brain because I'm seeing Winston in this cornball sombrero with ears coming out of it. And that's just so trite. Oh, no, I get that. I said, you do? And she said, I used to dress him in costumes.
Oh.
So here's where I wasn't trusting spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking in my own head, when in fact, spirit was giving me symbols to let her know, because she, as the client, is the one who interprets. And I was interpreting. You're never supposed to do that as a medium. And so she said that to me, but here is the real kicker. So I said, okay. And then I'm looking for Winston. All of a sudden, I watch my lip. My lip does this. I said, would you understand something was going on with Winston's mouth or teeth or gums or something? And she said, you're in the right place. You want me to tell you? I said, no, you're not to tell me. I'm to tell you evidence until you're absolutely sure about what I'm talking about. So I'm going to sit there, and all of a sudden, loud, blaring, I hear tobacco. And I said, tobacco? Would you understand that? She goes, yes, you're in the right place. Want me to tell you? I said, you tell me that Winston chewed tobacco? Because I don't know.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
She said, no, he did not chew tobacco. Do you want me to tell you? I said, you have to tell me because you obviously know what this is about. I'm not here to interpret it. Said Winston passed from oral cancer.
Oh.
Yeah. So
wow.
you know that people with tobacco get oral cancer. But spirit doesn't tell you directly, well, I'm a donkey and I pass a oral cancer. He doesn't say
it
that.
It doesn't always. Yeah, the more you practice, it can though. I've had it happen to me like that, but not when I asked specifically. I went to a person's house to do a reading for the family on some. They had relatives die, and two had died recently. And this was in Alabama, and I was visiting with them. It was like they were all younger than me, I think, and they were see with their father and their grandfather and all. I was there for probably 3 hours. And right before I was leaving, I kind of popped out of my head because I just got told, you know how that happens. I was like,
Sure.
"Who got shot in the head?" And they're like, "That was our father. He got shot in the head." And I was like,
Oh my God.
he just told me that. I didn't know who it was. But we had talked to
wow.
him a whole time. You know, he'd been there the whole
Mhm.
time as a spirit, but he hadn't told me he was shot in the head. So that was like, it just came. They never tell me unless I ask. And they usually will give me a feeling in my body of how they
Right.
passed. But but I'm not always right. I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but
well,
right
you know,
enough to where it's like, what? You know, you know.
yeah, I understand. I
Yeah.
understand. Well, this donkey then, the next thing I heard was 25. And I said, I'm hearing 25. Would you understand that? She said, yes, he was about 25 when he passed. And right after that, I said, now he's giving me the number 5. And I'm thinking, oh boy. And she said, yes, there were 5 donkeys in the herd.
Oh,
So it was a very interesting.
Yeah.
might as well donkeys like numbers too, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it was very,
Mhm.
very interesting.
That is,
So how the symbols come, it's either
Yes.
symbols. I think probably, and then you'll get people that they're so overwhelmed. You're giving them solid evidence. Here's an example of really solid evidence. I had done a film with a woman who was maybe around 50 years old. And we had done this passion project film for this woman who was a director. We did it for free. And she was a professional actor. I was the amateur. And very nice woman, black, about 50, attractive woman. And we became friendly on the set. Maybe we would talk to each other through a text, hey, how you doing? Once or twice a year. But that's it. I mean, we weren't good friends. We were just acquaintances. When she found out I was doing mediumship, she said, oh, I'd like you to do a reading. I said, okay. Thinking I was a psychic. And I had to explain to her, I am not a psychic. I'm a medium. I'm not reading you. I'm, the whole.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So then I said to her, almost immediately, I see a vision of a black man with a spear in the jungle. And I'm thinking, I am not going to tell her what I see because it's going to sound racist. And I'm just not comfortable. So I say, I see a man who passed before the age of 50. He's very handsome and he is ripped. I mean, really built really nicely. And he is walking with such confidence because now I'm feeling my body doing this thing. I said, almost warrior like. Would you understand that? I have no idea who you're talking about. No. But as a medium, you have to understand you can't let that throw you. Okay. So I said, well, let me go back and see if I can get some more evidence because I feel very confident about this man. So I said, he is saying something about Panther, Black Panther. Would you understand that? She says, I was never involved with the political group, the Black Panthers.
No, she was.
So I said, no, he's not talking about the political group. Going,
yeah.
Like a real panther. She said, wait a minute. Are you talking about Wakanda, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman? I said, that's who this man kind of looks like. She says, oh, I knew Chad. I said, you knew Chadwick Boseman? She said, yeah, before his career blew up and he was in the Fantastic Four and Black Panther Wakanda, I used to see him at auditions all the time. I can't imagine why he's coming forward. And I said, well, as I told you in the beginning, whoever is coming forward is for your greatest good. So he must have something he wants to share with you. So my process is to, number one, first validate who this is. And I said, well, let me make sure. And I got such chills when I said, are you Chadwick Boseman? And are you familiar, Lisa, with who Chadwick Boseman is? How about you?
I figured it out, though.
Yeah. So only peripherally, but yes.
Okay. Well, he passed of colon cancer in his 40s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And he had a very good reputation for being a very good man. Okay. And an excellent actor. And
a great actor. Yeah.
Yes. He was nominated posthumously for an Academy Award. Okay. So, all right. So she knew him and really good looking. And
yes,
she knew him. And she said,
so was that a role he played with the sphere?
Yeah, well, I don't remember if it was
probably. I would imagine it would be.
I don't think I ever saw Black Panther. All right.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. I've never seen it either. I have. It's been a while.
Yeah. So I asked her. I said, "Well, let me see. The next thing I have to do now that we have verified that we have brought forth Chadwick Boseman, let me give you a memory that only the two of you share." So I tap in and I said, he's showing me a film set. And the symbols were the two like actor chairs, those canvas actor chairs that are wooden kind of thing. And I said, he's showing me a film set with two actor chairs there. She said, I never did a film. Again, this is negative, right? I never did a film with him. I said, okay. Ask him for another memory. I said, no. Now he's showing me that you're in Los Angeles having lunch at a restaurant. The restaurant is like outdoors, where it's one of these restaurants where there's some seating outdoors, or there's a glass top overhead. She said, we did have lunch one time. So then after she verified that, I gave her message, and then we debrief. And I said, okay, so now fill me in on those details. She said, he was a really stand-up guy. Just so nice. We knew each other before his career blew up, before he got married. And then once that happened, we went our separate ways. And she said, as a matter of fact, he had asked me to do a project with him, but I don't think I was available. I think it was on some other project, so I couldn't do it. I said, he asked you to do a project with him? That memory that he shared of the two chairs and the film set was to trigger your memory that he had asked you to do a project with him. So that's an example of how it comes out. And many times the client is so overwhelmed by the information, they don't
get it at all. I'm going to start recording my in-person sessions.
Yeah. I do. Unless a client asks me not to.
Right.
And I have clients who would prefer not to have a recording of their session.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I know
most of my clients want them and really value them because they're able to go back and they don't have to rely only on their memory. Not that memory is a bad thing. And sometimes what they will remember spontaneously is what they most need to remember in that time.
Yes.
But most will say being able to go back and listen to our whole exchange, our whole session, the whole conversation, the context, things that maybe didn't.
Things you forgot about even going on. I've had many readings. I love getting readings, and if they record them, I'm happy. I'll record them sometimes on my end. I'll let them know I'm recording it. I just love it. To go back and listen to it. I'm just amazed. Like I forget like that. And that was happening in my life, for example, and I was feeling that way, and these things all came out this way. It's just amazing. And their spirits the same way. I don't think I've ever had a medium come out with a spirit message for me, really. But that's probably because I communicate with them so much. And I have had one person have Wendy come through for me, which was really cool. But I hate to do this to you guys. I don't know what's going on downstairs at my house. Can you hear the music?
No.
It's a good thing. It must be a psychic thing. I put a setting on my Zoom to block out background noises, and there's like a party going on down there. So I'm gonna have to cut the podcast short.
Yeah, I hear nothing but you speaking and Elizabeth.
I'm glad you guys can't hear, but I can hear it, and I'm going crazy. It's such an interesting podcast, and you are so fascinating, Elizabeth. I'm just loving hearing what you've to talk about.
Well, I'm glad I could be helpful.
Where can we find you? Where can listeners find you?
You
find out about you.
My website is www.elizabeth, ELIZABETH, Fried, FRIED.com/medium. And
Got
then
that. We'll put that in the description.
yeah.
Sure.
Now, one other thing I want to mention to you is that, are you aware of the AI companion on Zoom?
Oh, yeah. I love the AI companion.
I use it for my clients. This way, I don't.
That's a good idea.
I use it to record the sessions. Now,
I don't always do all my sessions on Zoom. I do a lot of in person, but I guess you could put the microphone on and record the Zoom screen.
Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. Now, it's not exactly accurate.
It's not private.
It's summarized. Well, yes, that's part of the thing that it goes on to Zoom. But I think there's a way with Zoom to make it private. I don't know.
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't care. Zoom doesn't care what I do. Nobody in the world cares what I do. On my computer, I'm like playing with character animator going, can I make my mouth bigger? Can I make my cat mouth bigger? They don't care about that, I don't think.
Thank you for inviting me, and I wish you the best.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You are wonderful. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And Donna and I are both advisors on there. She is Maria M. and I am Lisa P, LLESAP. And lastly, Elizabeth, we like to ask for advice at the end. Donna, can you think of any advice for Elizabeth, for the listeners and watchers?
I would just say for people that this is all, where this is all new, or they're approaching it with maybe a mix of both curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism, to please go ahead on your journey. Find people like Elizabeth, definitely, and find the connections out there that can help you not only develop what's developing in you or what you want to develop in you, but find your own evidentiary experiences.
I love that. That was really good. I was asking you to get think of some advice from her, but you gave us the advice.
Oh,
she summarized it beautifully. Like that was like AI summary.
Oops.
Did you hear that? It came out like you're just like, it's just such a natural. It's just like, how did you are like an AI summarizer, but it's natural and it flows. So that was really cool. You're hired.
Thank you. I got the job.
Thank you, Donna. And thank you, listeners and watchers. We love you so much. Go find Elizabeth. Her information is in the description of this podcast, and it's a video on Spotify at the last minute. I'm telling you, but I'll put that in the description too. So anyway, everybody have a wonderful time wherever you may be. We have a few more podcasts planned before the new year. And then we will see you. But before then, we'll see you tomorrow.
And thank you again for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
And thank you, listeners. Bye.
Bye.